In the previous Sarga, we heard Sumantra advising Dasharatha to invite Ṛṣyaśṛṅga from the Aṅga-deśa for accomplishing the Ashvamedha Yajna. Dasharatha heard enough to be stirred. The name of Ṛṣyaśṛṅga, a Brahma Rishi of immense taposhakti, a Jivatman whose very presence could alter the course of events. Sumantra only spoke of him briefly, just enough to awaken curiosity. But Dasharatha was not satisfied. There was something in that account, something profound, something unusual. And so, turning to Sumantra once again, he asked, "Tell me in detail, how was such a Brahma Rishi brought from the forest into a kingdom?" And thus, in the court of Ayodhya, before Dasharatha and his assembled ministers, Sumantra began to narrate a remarkable account, not merely of strategy, but of innocence, of transformation, and of a Jivatman whose very presence would restore balance to the world.
Sumantraschodito ragya provachedam vachastata yathārṣyaśṛṅgastavānīto yenopāyena mantribihi tanme nigititam sarvam shrunume mantribihi saha. Romapadam uvachedam sahamatya purohitaha upayo nirupayo ayamasmabhiri abhichintataha. Ṛṣyaśṛṅgo vanachaраstapaha svādhyāya samyutaha anibhigyastu nārīnām vishayānām sukhasya cha. Indriyārthair abhimatair narair chitta pramātibihi puramānāya yishyāmaha kshipram chādhyavasīyatām. Ganikāstatra gachantu rūpavatya svalankrutaha pralobhya vividopāyair āneshyantīha satkrutāha. Shrutva tatheti raja cha pratyuvacha purohitam purohito mantrinascha tada chakruscha te tatha. Varamukkhyastu tachutva vanam pravivishur mahat ashramasya viduresmin yatnam kurvanti darshane. ऋषेः पुत्रस्य धीरस्य नित्यमाश्रमवासिनः पितुः सह नित्यसन्तुष्टो नातिचक्राम चाश्रमात्. न तेन जन्म प्रभृति दृष्टपूर्वं तपस्विना स्त्री वा पुमान् वा यच्छान्यत् सत्वं नगर राष्ट्रजम्. ततः कदाचित्तं देशमजगाम यदृच्छया विपन्नकस्तु तस्तत्र ताश्च पश्यत् वराङ्गनाः. ताश्चित्रवेशाः प्रमदा गायन्त्यो मधुरस्वरं ऋषिपुत्रमुपागम्य सर्वा वचनमुब्रवन्. कस्त्वं किं वर्तसे ब्रह्मन् ज्ञातुमिच्छामहे वयम् एकस्त्वं विजने दूरे वने चरसि शंसनः. अदृष्टरूपास्तास्तेन काम्यरूपा वने स्त्रियः हार्दा तस्य मतिर्जाता आख्यातुं पितरं स्वकम्. पिता विभाण्डकोऽस्माकं तस्याहं सुत औरसः ऋष्यशृङ्गम् इति ख्यातं नाम कर्म च मे भुवि. इह आश्रमपदो अस्माकं समीपे शुभदर्शनाः करिष्ये वोत्र पूजां वै सर्वेषां विधिपूर्वकम्. ऋषिपुत्र वचः श्रुत्वा सर्वासम्मतिरासवै तद आश्रमपदं द्रष्टुं जग्मुः सर्वास्ततो अङ्गनाः. गतानां तु ततः पूजां ऋषिपुत्रश्चकारः. इदमर्घ्यम् इदं पाठ्यम् इदं मूलं फलं च नः. प्रतिगृह्यातु तां पूजां सर्वा एव समुत्सुकाः. ऋषेर्भीताश्च शीघ्रं तु गमनाय मतिं ददुः. अस्माकमपि मुख्यानि फलानि मानि हे द्विज गृहाण विप्रभद्रं ते भक्षयिष्वा च माचिरम्. ततस्तास्तं समालिङ्गय सर्वा हर्षसमन्विताः मोदकान् प्रदुस्तस्तस्मै भक्ष्यांश्च विविधान् चुबान्. तानि चास्वाद्य तेजस्वी फलानीति स्म मन्यते अनास्वादितपूर्वाणि वने नित्यनिवासिनाम्। आपृच्छय च तदा विप्रं व्रतचर्यां निवेद्य च गच्छन्ति स्मापदेशात् भीतास्तस्य पितुः स्त्रियः। गतासु तासु सर्वासु काश्यपस्यात्मजो द्विजः अस्वस्थहृदयश्चासीत् दुःखाच्च परिवर्तते। ततोऽपरेऽध्युस्तं देशमजगामस वीर्यवान् विभाण्डकसुतः श्रीमान् मनसा चिन्तयन् मुहुः। मनोज्ञा यत्कृता दृष्टा वारमुख्याः स्वलङ्कृताः दृष्टवैव च ततो विप्रमायन्तं हृष्टमानसाः। उपसृत्युत्ततः सर्वास्तास्तम् उचूरिदं वचः एह्याश्रमपदं सौम्य अस्माकम् इति चाब्रुवन्। चित्राण्यत्र बहूनि स्युर्मूलानि च फलानि च तत्राप्येष विशेषेण विधिर्हि भविता ध्रुवम्। श्रुत्वा तु वचनं तासां सर्वासां हृदयं गमं गमनाय मतिं चक्रेतं च निन्युस्तथा स्त्रियः। तत्र चानीयमाने तु विप्रे तस्मिन् महात्मनि ववर्ष सहसा देवो जगत्प्रह्लादयंस्तदा। वर्षेणैवागतं विप्रं तापसं स नराधिपः प्रत्युद्गम्य मुनिं प्रवह शिरसा च महीं गतः। अर्घ्यं च प्रददौ तस्मै न्यातः सुसमाहितः वव्रे प्रसादं विप्रेन्द्रान्मा विप्रं मन्युराविशेत्। अंतःपुरं प्रवेश्यास्मै कन्यां दत्त्वा यथाविधि शान्तां शान्तेन मनसा राजा हर्षमवापसः। एवं स निवसत्तत्र सर्वकामैः सपूजितः ऋष्यशृङ्गो महातेजाः शान्तया सह भार्यया।
Urged by King Dasharatha, Sumantra then began, "Listen, O Rajan, to the complete account of how Ṛṣyaśṛṅga was brought and by what means he was brought." He then spoke of the events that had taken place in the kingdom of Romapada. In that kingdom, the Purohit, along with the ministers, approached the king and said, "A means has been carefully devised, Rajan, a means without dosha, a means that is without danger." They explained, "Ṛṣyaśṛṅga, the son of the Maharshi Vibhandaka, lives in his ashram in the forest. He is wholly devoted to tapasya and austerity and to the study of the Vedas. He had never known the world beyond his ashram. He has never seen a man or a woman from a society. He had never experienced the objects of the senses, nor the pleasures associated with them." And so they said, by means of the indriyas, the sense objects, which can stir the mind, he can be brought to the city. They proposed that beautiful courtesans, adorned and graceful, should go to the forest, approach the young rishi, and by various means gently entice him and bring him to the kingdom. Romapada agreed, and the plan was set in motion. The courtesans entered the great forest. They stayed at a distance, not far from the ashram, waiting for the right moment. Ṛṣyaśṛṅga, the son of the Maharshi Vibhandaka, lived there with his father, content, steady, never stepping beyond the bounds of the ashram. From his birth, he had seen nothing of the outside world. No one, no man, no life shaped by towns or kingdoms. And then one day, by chance, Ṛṣyaśṛṅga came to that very place, and there he saw them, women, of a kind he had never seen before, graceful, adorned, moving and singing in sweet tones. They approached him and spoke gently. "Who are you, O Brahmana? How do you live here alone in this forest? Tell us about yourself." The young Rishi replied with simplicity. "My father is Vibhandaka," he said. "I am his son. My name is Ṛṣyaśṛṅga. Our ashram lies nearby. Please come there. I shall offer you proper hospitality." They accepted his invitation. They went with him to his ashram, and there Ṛṣyaśṛṅga received them with sincerity. He offered them argyam padhyam, water, roots, fruits, just as he had been taught. The women accepted, but did not stay long. They were mindful and afraid of his father, Vibhandaka Maharishi. And so, on a pretext, they took leave. But before departing, they offered him something in return. Each of the women hugged him closely, offered him food, delicacies he had never seen or tasted before. And not knowing otherwise, he thought these too must be fruits, for he had known nothing else. After they left, something had changed. The stillness within him was disturbed. He became restless, his mind unsettled. He could not remain as he had been before. The next day, drawn by that experience, Ṛṣyaśṛṅga returned to that place. The women saw him and welcomed him again. This time, they invited him. "Come with us to our ashram." They spoke in terms he understood, of roots, fruits, of familiar offerings, but hinted gently that something more awaited him there. He listened. Their words entered his heart. And for the first time, Ṛṣyaśṛṅga made a decision. He chose to go with them. And so they led him away. And as he was being brought into the kingdom of Aṅga, something remarkable occurred. Rain fell. Suddenly. In fact, the rains came just as he stepped into Aṅga-deśa. Maharshi Valmiki described it as Vavarsha Sahasa Devo Jagat Prahladayam Stada. After a long drought, the skies opened and the people rejoiced. King Romapada came out to receive him. He did not wait. He did not hesitate. He approached the young Maharshi with reverence, bowed low, and honored him with the due rites. He offered him argyam and sought his grace. "May no displeasure arise in you towards me," he said. And then, according to proper rites, the king gave him his daughter Shanta in marriage. Ṛṣyaśṛṅga was welcomed to the Antapuram, the inner chambers of the palace. And Romapada, his mind now at peace, felt deep joy. And thus, Ṛṣyaśṛṅga radiant with tapas, lived there in Aṅga-deśa, honored, well provided, and established in life, together with his wife Shanta. Ṛṣyaśṛṅga practiced brahmacharyam. There are lives that move outward, constantly seeking, and there are lives that never needed to. Ṛṣyaśṛṅga was not powerful because he had acquired something. He was powerful because nothing in him was spent. No desire scattered his attention. No longing divided his mind. No dependency pulled him outward. His mind rested in itself, in svasthata. In that state, there is no sense of lack, no subtle hunger for experience, no need to complete oneself through the world. The seers of the Upanishads speak of this not as discipline alone, but rather as a recognition of what already is. In the Shukla Yajurveda tradition, the Shanti mantra from the Ishavasya Upanishad says, Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. That is whole, this is whole. From that whole, this whole arises. Even when the whole is taken from that whole, the whole alone remains. That is what the Shanti Mantram means. When nothing is lacking, nothing is sought. And when nothing is sought, then nothing is lost. This is the deeper meaning of brahmacharyam. Not restraint forced upon life, but rather a mind that has not yet forgotten its own completeness. And then, for the first time in his life, for Maharshi Ṛṣyaśṛṅga, the world appeared, not as a forest, not as silence, but rather as an experience. Form, beauty, sound, and touch. Something new. Not wrong, not sinful, but new. And in that moment, the mind, which had never moved outward, suddenly moved. When Ṛṣyaśṛṅga entered Aṅga-deśa, the heavens opened, rain fell, suddenly, abundantly. To us, it appears miraculous, but perhaps it only appears to be so, because we have long forgotten what alignment feels like. Ṛṣyaśṛṅga was not separate from existence in the way we experience separation. His mind was not fragmented. His being was not divided. And the Shastram does not describe existence as many, but rather as one, expressing itself in many ways. Here I am reminded of a Maharshi from antiquity, the Maharshi Dirghatamas Auchatya, who gave us a profound mantra in the 164th Suktam of Rig Veda. The mantra is Indram Mitram Varunamagni Mahuhu Atho Divyaha Sasuparno Garudman Ekam Sadvipra Bahuda Vadanti Agnim Yamam Matarishvana Mahuhu. It means they call it Indra, Mitra, Varuna or Agni. That one reality. The wise speak of it in many ways. If existence is not fragmented, if it is just one continuous whole, then what we call inner and what we call outer may not, after all, be as separate as we imagine. And so, when a being who has lived in complete inner alignment steps into a land, perhaps what responds is not a miracle, but perhaps something far too subtle for our present Chaitanyam to grasp. So, do not rush to explain this. Do not reduce it to a simple belief or dismiss it as imagination. Pause instead. What would it mean to live, even for a moment, without seeking anything from the outside? What would the mind feel like if it did not move? What would the world feel like if you were not separate from it? Even a glimpse would be enough. Or perhaps it is enough to simply listen with me to this enchanting tale and let this story, the Vedopa Brahmanam, do its work.